It is time for our discussion segment. Today in this segment, we're going to be shining a light on critical issues affecting Nigeria's senior citizen. We're talking about pension in Nigeria. Pension administration in Nigeria, systemic gaps that are negatively impacting the pensioners. Millions of Nigerian pensioners face untold hardship due to inefficiencies in the pension administration system. From delayed payment to inadequate funding, to bureaucratic bottlenecks and lack of transparency, the challenges are numerous. So today we're going to be looking at, the life of pensioners, what could be done to better the pension system in Nigeria, what's causing the delayed payment, how it could be done better, and how the right of pensioners could be protected, what more can be done. So our objective today is to identify systemic gaps, explore a possible solution, and amplify the voices of pensioners. It's painful to see that after putting in your years in service, you don't have what to show for it. And even when you do, you rely on this pension you're being paid for your daily sustenance or your monthly sustenance, and you realize that you're being owed, or you're not being paid, or your gratuity is not being given. All of that put together, imagine what the life of these people, or the pensioners would be like. So we have with us today on via Zoom Ben Shemang. He's a senior citizen and a pensioner. He's going to be talking to us about, his experience and possible solutions and way it could be made better, and lessons, other pensioners could learn to navigate the system with ease. Thank you so much for joining us, Ben Shamang.
Thank you for having me.
All right. What is it like being a pensioner in Nigeria?
Yeah, you see, honestly, madam, before I even continue, I was thinking that we're going to have a kind of a tripod in terms of this discussion. When I say a tripod, you have a pensioner. That is one. Two, you have PENCOM, those who are administering this pension. Then you also have the pension fund administrators, PFS. So that, you see, if there are things I am saying they don't agree with, legally the PENCOM people will come in. Now, I don't see this. Where does the PFN come in? So that you have a balanced thing. Now I'm left to just level a kind of accusations or lay complaints. I'm not getting somebody to respond to what I'm saying. But all the same, it's not easy for people who have served 35 years or even less. If you serve for some 10 years, I mean, you ought to receive something. You have some 15 years, you ought to receive something. But it's not easy getting all of these things, even though there are laws backing it up. You see, those days, one could just retire and they give you something lump sum. Those who never had houses will now go and build houses. And what will be left is for your basic salary to be paid. That was then. That was before 2004. Then after 2004 came, then the new pension came on board. 2014, it was amended. But with all of this, there's virtually nothing because here you are, you contribute money. It is there. You are seeing it.
Seem to be having a little bit of network glitch there, but we hope it's going to get resolved because we really love to hear what he has to say.
And
but like he said earlier, he was expecting a tripartite, with PENCOM and bodies involved. Unfortunately, they pulled out at a dying minute, but could it be, it's a challenge we usually face as journalists when it comes to getting the right authorities. Thank you so much for joining us. I was actually responding to what you said, saying you expected to have PENCOM and the necessary bodies here so we could have a full conversation. But unfortunately, they all pulled out at a dying minute. I don't know why they decided not to, or probably they were not ready to face and answer the realistic questions we're going to throw at them. They were unresponsive. In fact, they agreed, and as at few minutes to this, They pulled out and were unresponsive, which is a challenge we usually face, as journalists in Nigeria. Getting the right authority to respond is something they shy away from. But, continue with your train of thoughts.
Yeah, so you see, their inability to also come tells you quite a lot in terms of pension administration. Here you are, the moment you retire, you're supposed to have something to cushion the effect of retirement. But people will stay a year or two, they are not receiving anything. Now, let me tell you a personal experience. Just yesterday. Yesterday was October 21st. I went to my own pension fund managers. That's the FCMB. They called me last week that I should appear, that I don't always appear. I said, why do I appear when I leave my house happily, but I'll go to that place and leave a very sad person? So I don't need to come. But now that you are calling me, it means something is there for me. So I went there. I was shocked. The way I was even addressed, I think that the front officers ought to be, they have to have people with some human feelings, the way they talk to people, senior citizens and all that. And somebody will tell me, oh, who called you that? I said, this is the man who called me. They call, oh, one Ben Shamang is here. Saying blah blah blah. Oh God, people started laughing at me. It's not the best. But having said so, you see, we ought to have a situation where if you have some complaints, these are the channels, and why will I have money? The money is there. Some people, like I've said, are having no houses where they live in on retirement because they were that honest. And where they worked, they didn't get either a loan or something to build a house for themselves. And at the point, they were also thinking on retirement, okay, I get this lump sum money and I'll go build myself something. But there's no money. Hypertension comes in, diabetes comes in. They are perpetually on medication, and government is not assisting. And when you had Minister of Finance saying, oh, they were most likely going to borrow money from pensioners' money. I mean, that was again killing the pensioner who really is waiting patiently to receive the sweat that he labored for, but nothing is there. And when you look at the composition of even Compen itself, Pencom rather, you see that we, apart from Minister of Finance, we have the presidency. Of course, commissions belong to the presidency. Then you have a Nigerian Labour Congress. You have TUC, Trade Union Congress. You have a Nigerian Employers Consultative Assembly. Quite a lot of bodies that are supposed to be there. And the law also provides that even if you are in the private sector and you're able to employ at least 15 people, it follows that there must be, this law must apply to them. There has to be a contributory pension. But I tell you, what many of them do is the moment you employ people, they've reached some 5 years, 6 years, you're already talking of giving them some pension, some gratuity. You create some scenario and those people are let off. And they go just without anything. You just find people who are mobile workers. You work there, you work in that place, and you live with nothing. You are a rolling stone, and you don't have anything to show for it. That is the situation as we have. Even when you retire, okay, now you are called, your money is likely to come so time. Come and tell us, are you going to take your amount lump sum? Even what they call lump sum, they just simply going to give you a percentage. Not that percentage cannot even buy a house for you. I am emphasizing this in house because one has to have a shelter so that he can always live a reasonable life. But a situation where constantly you parent,
you spoke about how you were being called and the way they treated you. Now, at what point do employees miss it? You were opportune to get informed, followed it up, registered, and got your pension. And even if it's not coming in as often as you expected, even if there are bottlenecks, but at least that is in place. But for employees at the moment, what advice would you give to them? At what point do they miss it when it comes to getting this sorted out, so they don't get to face as much bottlenecks or hurdles or zero pension at all when they retire?
Yeah, you see, the moment one is employed, starting from yeah, the time you do your registration, you have resumed to work, you have assumed, sorry, to start work. Um, Pensioners, I mean, pension companies will always, or workers will tell you, see, there are pension companies you can choose as your administrator of pension. So from there you choose. And when salaries are being paid, there's what you call the pay slip. Pay slip tells you your basic allowance, your basic salary, some allowances, tax payment, union paid dues, and contributory health contributory pension, contributory pension, what is it, money for health insurance, and all that. So they all are listed. Now, it also means that the employer at that point, the moment you choose and a pay slip has come, you check, is there a remittance from your own side? And you are supposed to be receiving an alert from your pension fund administrator that you have so chosen. And one thing is clear, that very first letter of employment, hold on to it like gold. Then your birth certificate or declaration of age, hold on to it. Your promotion letters, your pay slip, don't just discard them, because these are things that will be required so much later in life. If you've worked for 35 years and you now want to go for your pension, to set the records right, the next thing is, where is your first letter of employment? Some people have a problem with that. Your last pay slip, as you are leaving government, where is it? You know, all sorts of promotion letters, they select some. And again, talking of the pay slips, they also select some years and say, provide us with this, provide us with that. But many workers do not actually bother at all. I remember when I was still in service, many pay slips will come to my department. They'll be with me. I'll keep on announcing. Sometimes I'll follow staff one by one and say, this is your paper, hold on to it, you know. So many, there's this I don't care attitude, so to speak, that some workers do, and it affects them when they want to now retire. You see that one young administrator somewhere is now saying, Baba, please just go and bring this and stop you know, that kind of a thing. You see old men, old women breaking down in front of very young people who ought to be their grandchildren. Is not the best. So the worker himself has to do some things right, because if you don't do it, there's no way you'll be paid.
Now, do you feel, having stated all of this, meaning it's a two-way, you know, on the part of the worker, you have a responsibility so that when it's time to get your money, you're able to hold on to these documents and prove, and you know that your cry will be justified at that point in time. But do you feel the pension system in Nigeria is transparent enough based on your experience?
No, it's not transparent enough. It's not honorable enough. When you're seeing some people, look, the moment you see a grandfather, you feel like playing with that person. The moment you see a grandmother, you feel like playing with that person, just like a baby, because that's what they've turned out to be. But that is when some people would seize the opportunity to now deal with them just anyhow. Now you have this contributory money, there, a heap of money. You are not giving the owner, but who now is using that money? And you now see those people who administer your pension, they look at their appearance, so well fed, sometimes are dressed as if there is fashion parade somewhere. Some appear as if there is the wedding thing or they want to show whatever they've gathered, you know, when indeed the real owners of the money are suffering somewhere. Yesterday, like I said, a lady was telling me, look, your money is not with me. What is it that you're talking about? I said, look, I always like one quotation I saw in Dangote office. He said, be kind to your customers. They are the ones paying you. In other words, you are there as a pension administrator. If you don't handle these pensioners very well, you are employed there because you'll be paid from their money. And so if you don't handle them well, and at the point they say no to your company, of course they withdraw, and of course there's this thing you call damaging control. Once your company is damaged, there's a reputation problem, then you can't, it's not easy for you to claim that damage that has been done. So that is why we also need people who psychologically are informed. They can always manage old people, no matter the nuances, no matter how they talk. Yeah, calm them down. But you just find some people up there shouting up their young fellows, and the older people are also there shouting up there. And some people are with their ties in some offices, just feeling that I'm the boss, I'm the this of this company. They are just feeding fat on the sweat of some people.
All right, now let's talk about bureaucratic bottlenecks and hurdles when it comes to the pension scheme and system in Nigeria. Have you encountered any? And do you think this is one of the biggest challenges pensioners are facing? The bottlenecks and bureaucratic system.
Yeah, you see, incidentally, in every government office or some very structured organizations, whether they are private or government owned, you have open file or management file. These ones are for daily movement here and there to move this for the officer. But there's also the secret file. The secret file must have many of these documents. Your first letter of application, where you attach your declaration of age of birth certificate, and quite a lot of other documents are in there. Your promotion letters from whatever level up to the point of retirement are always there. But why is it that on retirement, there's always that gap between office and the pension fund administration, PFS? There's always a gap there as to linking. Why is it that the administration in your place of employment cannot go into your secret file and get these documents? Apart from that, there are also some people who constantly go to change their age. You see that it's not tallying with what you entered office with, what PENCOM has, and what you now have. They are not tallying at all. There are times some people have their salary stopped because by the records they have, such a person ought not to be in service again. Now the person begins to tender affidavit. Look, my age was so. It was done in error and all that stuff. So it's only in Nigeria where these documents are not taken as seriously. I know in some countries like these former French colonies, at birth, when you are going to nursery school, they say you enter nursery school at age so when you are born. Then you move to primary school the same way. And in that way, records are kept there sacrosanct. No wonder in Nigeria, we are beginning to have what they call identity theft. Somebody can just bear your name. Even you look at your Facebook, for example, you see that your photograph, somebody is bearing it somewhere. So a whole gamut of things. And we also expect that the PENCOM itself, you see, before people retire, you have to hold conferences. Tell them, look, these are the opportunities available for you. Will you want to do annuity? Will you want to do to just withdraw your money lump sum? What kind of thing do you do? And what investment is available for you? Now, will you want to? We leave you with the salary you are receiving constantly that way, or you will now give you this lump sum amount, but will reduce how much you'll be taking per month. And so all of these things, they tell you the advantages and the disadvantages, but you don't find many of these things. Now, let me sound this word of warning. When you see pension fund administrators entering your office and they are giving you umbrellas, did you see? It's your money. Sometimes they come with a gas cooker to the size of one small kettle like this, and they said, oh, they are doing some corporate responsibilities. It's not true. It's part of your money. So I don't see how that moves the pensioner forward. When indeed the moment you leave service, you're supposed to live reasonable, quiet life. If I didn't invest in anything, okay, if I want a quiet life, I have a tree in my compound. I'll be lying down there in a camp bed, read newspapers, listen to radio, and I move on. If we make life easy for us that way, and we begin to, since we like worshiping God, the older ones, yes, I move to church, this one moves to mosque, then we meet later and discuss. That's the life of pensioner. But if I feel I should be active all through, why not?
All right. Now, finally, while we're wrapping up, what changes would you like to see in the Nigerian pension system as a pensioner?
Yeah, you see, the way the soldiers did it those days. By the way, soldiers do not belong to this contributory pension. All the virtually many of these military stroke paramilitary organizations, they don't belong because it's like to them it's a charity kind of. Why will you? I mean, they manage theirs, unlike what we have now. Also, what do I really want change? I need look. The moment somebody is retiring, you do it like the military would do those days. They just give you, they calculate from day one when you started work, and based on your current salary, they calculate all of that and give you. And giving you that now, you are capable to build a house, open a shop, and you move on. Then you now start depending on your basic salary. So that should be done. And a situation whereby they give somebody lump sum money, and it's expected that no how after retirement that the men must die in the 70 years time. The women must die 75 years time. When you appear, somebody will say, "Oh, are you still there?" And that's why sometimes at the point, some people will prefer to keep paying those who have died in court. Somebody who is dead, some people arrange, they are still being paid. I want to share this briefly. I remember going to look for somebody's entitlement with federal inland revenue just around Bega. That was around 2016 or so, or maybe around that time. But all the same, I went. Now I met these two girls just crying. So what's the problem? They say, there's one auntie. I told her we are orphans and we've been coming from Lagos. We borrow money at our age. We borrow money to come. She'll just say we just have to give her this, give her this, give her this. We've been borrowing and giving her. We come, they said she's dead. Now she thought she'll eat an orphan's money and survive. Oh, honestly, I was taken aback. So that tells you some people are pained, not just the older generation, the younger ones. So all of this change of attitude, why should we always be rushing to grab what does not belong to us? We have to change.
All right, thank you so much, Ben Shemang, for opening our eyes, to understanding the plight of pensioners in Nigeria, and also educating the pensioners on their part on how they could, try and understand the system better. Thank you so much for joining us. It's always good to have you with us in the studio.
Thanks, always a pleasure.
All right, so well, I guess that was Ben Shamang there speaking to us. He's a senior citizen and also a pensioner. And if you listened in, and if you're an employee, please do well to take the advice, ask questions, follow up, so you wouldn't have stories to narrate at the end of the day. And, we really hope we had Pencom, who pulled out at the diamond. It's right here in the studio with us. But we hope you learned something from that segment.